Well, after a more than 9-month break and a provincial election, BC's MLAs returned to work at the legislature today with a new speech from the throne. For more on that, let's bring in Rob Shaw at the BC legislature. Rob, was there anything notable in the speech today? I'm going to guess yes.
No, there was not.
All right, next.
I have covered a lot of these, and this falls into one of those rare categories that it did not say almost anything new about what this re-elected NDP government plans to do on the big crises facing it at home here in healthcare, crime, addictions, and the economy. It does, however, talk a lot about the United States. New Lieutenant Governor Wendy Cocchia reading a speech by the Premier full of war metaphors, saying British Columbians must fight harder now than any other time since the Second World War. We have to dig deep, find the strength we used to fight the Nazis, according to the speech, and use it again, presumably against the threat of annexation by U.S. President Donald Trump. Trump not mentioned by name in this speech, though his threats of tariffs looming large over the entire address. Here's a taste of it right from the start.
We open this first session of British Columbia's 43rd Parliament at the most consequential time for our province since the Second World War. In the face of an unprecedented and unjustified threat to our economy, British Columbians are joining with all Canadians to fight back. We've come together to support each other and stand up for our country. We are saying with one united voice, we will never be the 51st state, not now or ever. Instead, we will take our destiny into our own hands by building on our strengths.
The rest of the speech repeating mainly what the Premier has been saying for the last month or so, an intent to fast-track 18 new natural gas mining and renewable energy projects to boost the economy in the face of those tariffs, speed up permitting and forestry and agriculture, diversify the provincial exports away from the U.S. towards Japan, South Korea, and even China. If you are looking, though, for new ideas on healthcare or crime or cost of living, they are not in here. The NDP falling back on figures it used from the election campaign to say it's hiring more doctors and police and opening more hospitals, that type of thing. Here's the Premier on the wartime imagery and the opposition leader today.
Regardless of whether your house is bombed or whether you're foreclosed from it because you're fired, makes very little difference to a family. And this feels to British Columbians and Canadians, and I think rightly so, feels like an unprovoked attack. And we're facing continual threats to our sovereignty from the President of the United States.
I found it quite interesting that there's a number of things that really were not highlighted in the throne speech. In particular, the issue of fentanyl. They did talk about it briefly, but the reality is, with now over 17,000 people in this province that have died from overdoses, with this being the key trade issue with the Americans, along with the issue of our ports and overall security, there wasn't a mention of how to come and a plan to tackle that head on.
There's a line in here, April, I think that kind of sums it up. That goes, your government is working quickly to reorient itself to a fundamentally changed landscape, which, yes, is partly Donald Trump, but also the landscape we find ourselves here with a massive conservative surge, one of the biggest oppositions in history here, and the NDP barely holding on to its majority. This throne speech evidence they are still struggling a bit to figure out what to do with that new landscape, focusing on Trump, but not a lot else.